Thank you. I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and by my authority and that of the entire university, give power to read and to do all that appertains to this degree.
Mr. Chancellor, and other chancellors present, the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Education and Cabinet Secretary for the ICT, a Vice Chancellor and other Vice Chancellors, Chairperson of Council and other members of Council, and Senate and members of the academic staff. I'm very glad also that we have with us a very honorable person, the wife of our former leader, Dedan Kemati. Thank you very much, ma'am, for coming. And other esteemed workers at the university, the Defense Attaché at the South African High Commission, fellow students, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow Africans. First of all, let me say thank you very much to the Chancellor for the very kind remarks he has just made, both about me and the rest of my family. Thank you very much indeed, Chancellor. But I'd like to convey my sincere thanks for the honor that the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology has conferred on me by admitting me as an alumnus of this university as an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters. I also apologize, Chancellor, that due to other pressing challenges, I could not attend the graduation ceremony in April last year, humbly to accept this doctorate in person. However, I plead that we as fellow Africans accept the traditional advice, better late than never. I feel particularly honored that I stand here today at a university which carries the name of a great African leader and hero, the eminent fighter for the liberation of Kenya and of Africa, Dedan Kimathi. I would like to believe that everybody present here today remembers this as a matter of course. that when Nelson Mandela visited Kenya in 1990, 4 months after his release from 27 years of imprisonment in South Africa, he sought to pay tribute to Dedan Kimathi and his fellow fighters for the land and freedom of the Land and Freedom Party, whose sacrifices had made an enormous contribution to the defeat of colonialism throughout our continent. And the important comment Nelson Mandela made in this regard during that visit to Kenya has been widely reported, but I think also bears repeating. And as you know, he said, in my 27 years of imprisonment, I always saw the images of fighters like Kimathi, China, and others as candles in my long and hard war against injustice. It is an honor for any freedom fighters to pay respect to such heroes, unquote. And indeed, I'm very, very honored that I have to pay tribute again to these great freedom fighters who were our leaders. I and others of my comrades were brought up and nurtured as fighters for liberation by Nelson Mandela and the other eminent South African revolutionary leaders of his generation. And as young activists involved in struggle for the defeat of apartheid and white minority rule, we too were inspired by the example which had been set by such heroes as Dedan Kimathi and General China of Kenya, and others elsewhere on our continent, such as Ahmed Ben Bella of Algeria and Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. We accepted this as our own inalienable obligation that we're to do everything possible to help ensure that as South Africans,